Hi, everybody. This is Julie, founder of The Joy Source. Thank you for joining me today on this podcast about setting boundaries and being assertive. I spend a lot of time talking about boundaries. In both of my books, I have chapters on setting boundaries. It is something that is really difficult for so many people. And I do a talk just hour after hour on setting boundaries. So there's this quote that anything in your life that is not going well can be improved by boundaries. And you can decide for yourself whether you agree or disagree. But I tend to agree. For some of us, our boundaries are too rigid. We don't let any of the good in. No new experiences. We say no to everything. So those folks need to work on relaxing a little bit, letting the joy in. But today, the majority of my talk and the message is really for those folks who have trouble setting them and their boundaries are way too loose, which has caused you to lose your voice, feel like you don't matter, and sometimes feel like a doormat that everybody just walks all over you. They know you are going to be the one to say yes, and they take advantage of that. There's this boundary checklist that I'm going to talk to you about. It's by Dr. Charles Whitfield. I use this in a lot of my talks, and he asks a series of questions to see, and it's called the boundary checklist, to see about your boundaries. And the first one is, am I able to say no to requests? This one is hard because a lot of people will tell me they feel really guilty, and it follows them through their lifetime. They continually say yes. Do I find myself involved with people who end up hurting me? Do I consider my opinion to be as important as others? Do people take or use my things without permission? Have I found a balance between helping others and meeting my own needs? And I'm going to stop there for a minute. This is a tough one, especially for women. Have I found a balance between helping others and meeting my own needs? Why am I always so tired? I'll ask. This is what I hear all the time. Why am I always so tired? Why am I so worn out? Everybody else is happy and getting their needs met, but I continually say yes because I feel guilty saying no. And there's a lot of sayings out there, saying no, you really say yes to you, which is true. But saying no doesn't have to be that hard, and it doesn't have to be that harsh. And people think that saying no, it has to be a mean no, it has to be a harsh no, and it really doesn't. It just is protecting you, your integrity, your sense of self. So it can just be, that doesn't work for me. If someone's asking you to do something you don't want to do, it doesn't have to have explanations attached. And I've learned that over time personally, but I also remind people the more that you explain, the more people find holes in what you're explaining, and you end up somehow doing it. Not wanting to go to a party, you tell them a whole list of things, and soon they say, well, if you don't do that, you could do that. And it sounds like you do have time to come, and you end up there. And you think, how did I end up here? I don't want to be here. So just saying, no, I can't. Nope, that doesn't work for me, is really all you need. No one needs explanations. And the people that will be most upset are the people who benefit most from you having no boundaries. So when you start saying no, people will not be happy with us. And that is where we get stuck and we give in. We can't sit with someone being disappointed in us. A lot of us over time, we realize, well, there is something to be said for saying no and protecting our own time, especially as we get busier and we get worn out. Some of us come down with illness. It's time to say no, and it becomes easier. And others struggle with that guilt. I don't want her to be upset with me. I don't want him to be mad at me. So at our own expense, we continue to say yes. So just ask yourself now, where am I in my boundaries? Are they too loose? Or are they right where they need to be because I've practiced? Or are they a little too rigid? And ask yourself this, can you disappoint someone else? To be true to you, to be true to what you need in your life, meeting your own needs, and how guilt can play a big role in that for us, whether it's a message we heard growing up, whether it's what we watched in our own home, or if we got pressure to always say yes. We have to be the good spouse, the good friend, the good daughter, the good mother. You can't ever say no. So I will challenge you on that and say, in order to have any type of balance in your life, you have to learn to say no. And you have to learn to sit with other people being angry at you and disappointed. That is not your problem. It is not your problem how anybody else reacts. It is about you making sure that you have time for you and doing the things that you enjoy, not what everybody else enjoys. Always make time for you. And if you can't, then you have to start saying no. So I remember when I was doing this talk years ago, and I was telling everybody about how they're worthy of joy and finding those places, those things that bring them joy, whether it's hobbies, going out with friends. And I remember people saying to me, that all sounds great, but can I have an extra hour in the day? Because I just don't have time for any of the good stuff you say. It makes sense, Julie, but I just, there's no time. So here's the challenge I put back on you if this is your way of thinking. Start saying no. There's so much you do that is not obligatory. So I'm going to take out those pieces that are out of obligation that we have to do, okay? But I don't think that's your whole life. I think those are pieces, whether it's family obligations, whatever it may be. The rest is filled up with things that you could say no to. It's just your choice. And it's time to reevaluate in your life if you feel like you don't have that time for the good stuff. You work hard, you do everything you need to do to upkeep your home in whatever capacity that is. And at the end, you don't have any time for you. So take a step back. Do you need to delegate more? Are there other people in your home that could do some of the things that you do to buy you more time? Are you saying yes to things on your free time that really don't bring you joy, that you don't really want to do anyway? What are those things? Let's get rid of those. And I think you just bought yourself more time. But it is in this time that you don't fill it with more chores, more things that don't bring you joy. They just frustrate you. I think in my first book, Joy Worthy, A Mother's Guide to More Joy, Less Stress, and No Guilt. Oh my goodness, is that even possible? I think you got to read my book to find out. You know, I wrote about making sure that you always have time for you. And when you have the time, you don't fill it with chores. Can you walk by the dishes in the sink? Can you walk by the laundry? If you only have that one prized hour to maybe sit outside, grab a cup of coffee in peace, do some yoga, read a magazine, watch your favorite show you've been waiting to watch, can you do that? Or do you fill it with chores, or do you sit on Facebook all day? Wasted time that doesn't make you a better person. Just for you to think about. So I'm going to move into being assertive because it goes hand in hand with setting boundaries. This is a great list. It's called Be Assertive, a reality checklist by Randy Patterson, who does this assertiveness workbook. And I found it incredibly helpful. Just these sentences. First one, I decide for myself what I will and will not do. So that's really important. But if you don't set boundaries, that means nothing. So I decide for myself what I will and will not do. When will that time be for you? When will you start deciding what you will and will not do? When will you take your power back? You are entitled to decide on where you're going to spend your time and what you won't do. Second one, I don't have to justify myself to others. So this goes back to what I was saying about people want a lot of explanations. Well, why? Why can't you come to that? And why? Why won't you do that? You don't have to give any excuses or justifications or reasons. You don't owe that to anybody. It just doesn't work for me this time. So the answer is no. I cannot do that. You don't have to justify yourself to others. This is a big one. And I thought about this for a while, and it helped me put things in perspective. People can ask you anything they want. He writes, we waste a lot of energy trying to stop people for asking or wishing they wouldn't ask, or we feel enraged and get angry. How could they ask me that? I cannot believe she asked me this, or he asked me that. Folks, people can ask you anything they want. Don't waste the energy. Let it go. Next one, my life is my own, and I can turn down requests made by others if I wish. Ooh, baby, that one's a big one. Your time and your life are your own, people. You decide. You can turn down requests. You can decide what you will and will not do, but you have to be assertive. If you're a doormat, you don't decide. And you walk around letting people take advantage of you, giving away your power. And that's why I love speaking with 7th and 8th graders and high schoolers as well about talking about giving away your power. Don't do it. Stay true to you. It starts when we're young. We start giving pieces of ourselves away. Be assertive. It's not being nasty. It's not being mean. It's deciding for yourself what you won't do and what you decide to do and not having to give explanations. And the last one, there's other ones, but this one is more important in this, as we go to this conversation, is direct is usually better. Again, instead of giving explanations and reasons, and it's important to just be, again, non-aggressive in your approach, but direct. It's always more effective. I can't do that. That does not work for me. It's going to be a no this time, and it's done. And people can decide how they want to take that, but that is not your problem. And we get better over time. It does take practice, and I hear this in all the workshops I do. This comes up. I feel guilty. It's so hard. I've lived a lifetime of saying yes to everybody, and I'm worn out. I see the life she has, the life he has, and I would like that too. So I have to learn to start saying no so that I can say yes to myself. And it is a process. It might require you to dig deep in your old thought process, how you think about yourself as not worthy, and coming into a place of self-esteem and self-confidence and working on that and deciding for yourself, yep, this is my time. Today's a new day. And once you start saying no, it does become easier. You can let go of some of that guilt. But I'm doing this for me. And that should help you in your guilt. And I'm going to do a podcast for moms because I feel like they have a hard time saying no, whether it's to kids' requests, whether it's to other parents, in-laws. That's a tough one. I will get there and I will put that message out. But for now, and it's really just the same message of I need some time for me to regroup, to renew, to refresh. I need time to find my own joy. So I got to I have to learn how to say no. And in that no, you're saying yes to you. So please use this message today to say you are worthy. You are ready. Think about those boundaries. And are they too loose? Are you the one at work everybody asks because you'll always say yes? Okay? And if so, now's a great time to start setting stronger boundaries, clearer ones, being direct. I decide what I will and will not do, and I don't have to justify that to anybody else. Today, right today, is your time for change. And I encourage you to set those boundaries so that you make time for yourself, for your own joy, for your own peace of mind. It does get easier. I promise you that. But you have to start practicing them. Don't wait. Time waits for nobody. It keeps moving. So set those boundaries today. I wish you luck. I know it can be challenging and difficult. Again, find those supportive people in your circle to help you. Dive into those self-help books. Find me on Facebook. I do. I put a positive quote every day on my Joy Source Facebook page. I host a women's getaway weekend every March, where over 90 women come from around the country, and we have workshops on finding joy, how to set boundaries, how to feel good. No matter what age you are, you're welcome. Please join us. And thank you for listening to this message today. I wish you unlimited joy and passion and love and being the best that you can be.